What up, book lovers? It is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today with a massive book haul. So far, I have filmed 2 different book hauls, one being a romance book haul and the other being a manga book haul. Both those book hauls were of books that were accumulated during a certain period, and that certain period was when my mother-in-law was staying with us, which was the middle of November 2022 to the middle of January 2023. So there was a good 2 months where I was constantly accumulating books, and I never filmed a book haul because I didn't have that much time to film at the time. Kind of let it get away. But also, we gotta take into consideration that Christmas money was received and Boxing Day happened, a few things happened, and to top it all off, a bunch of the pre-orders that I made previously were still coming in. So it was just a non-stop influx of books. This is the 3rd part of the books I received within this period, but they're not specifically categorized this time. This time it's just miscellaneous. I mean, I just decided to do all my romance contemporaries in one video because it worked well for Valentine's Day, and I decided to do my manga separately because it was just easier that way. This specific book haul is a combination between books that I pre-ordered, like special editions, or like monthly book box books, as well as some books that I accumulated maybe from Black Friday deals or just with like my Christmas money that don't fall under the previous 2 categories that I had just mentioned. Majority of these are pretty much fantasy and paranormal, I guess. Without further ado, let's get straight into this book haul so I can show you guys how chaotic it is. I'm gonna start off with these top 3 on this pile here. I have the Maidenship trilogy by Micheline Reichman. I didn't just cover purchase these. No, I needed to get the Fake Crate editions because they were so pretty. Every single time Fake Crate just showed off how pretty these books were. With the cover and under the dust jacket and with the reverse dust jacket art, I just knew that these had to be mine. Like, that is just so pretty. I'm absolutely obsessed with these special editions. Do I know what the series is about? No, but it's definitely giving me like C vibes, so I'll give it that. I believe that it is a young adult series rather than a new adult series. I mean, personally with me, when it comes to purchasing from Fake Crate, I only tend to purchase their Opus collection. Their Opus collection is essentially books that classify as new adult or adult and are catered to an older audience. They are a young adult book subscription service, so that's why I don't tend to subscribe to them. But I mean, in a way, the only young adult books I tend to read / receive these days, majority of the time, come from like book subscription services, and I just figured that I'm going to stick to kind of what I'm most interested in at the moment. However, I'm still somewhat interested in young adult reads. It's just the young adult reads have to be good, and I am really hoping I enjoy the Maidenship because, I mean, this series looks absolutely pretty aesthetically, and I gave my money to Fake Crate for them, but I need to read them to find out for myself whether I would love them or not. And speaking of young adult fantasy, I caved and I purchased The Dragon's Promise in the US hardback edition. This is a book by Elizabeth Lim. It's the sequel to 6 Crimson Cranes, and I purely purchased this because the hardback was on sale for 14 Australian dollars on Boxing Day. Now, I have internally debated whether or not to get this hardback for a very long time, and a big reason why I've internally debated about it is because of its cover style. Like, it looks so pretty. But I mean, the con here is that The Dragon's Promise is not my favorite conclusion to a duology. However, I still appreciate this duology, and so I would be okay with having both editions of The Dragon's Promise, or like both set editions. Like, I would be fine with that. It's just I could not justify purchasing it for like 40 Australian dollars because that is essentially what it is worth in Australian dollars. I am just so happy that the price dropped kind of dramatically for Boxing Day, and yeah, that is exactly how I justified my purchase here. And speaking of Boxing Day hardback bargains, I also have The Merciless Ones by Namina Forna. I had actually read the Gilded Ones like 2 years ago now. Oh my goodness, it has been that long. I remember because I was miserable at the time, but we're not gonna go into that. Let's just say that I was trapped in a job I didn't care for. I tend to associate my beginning of 2021 with the Gilded Ones, and I very much enjoyed reading the Gilded Ones. The Merciless Ones, however, came out around a year and a half after the Gilded Ones came out, and sometimes I tend to lose interest if the books don't come out within the year, but also I just wasn't really keeping up with the hype. 6 months ago when The Merciless Ones came out, I totally forgot that The Merciless Ones existed and was going to come out, and I know that's terrible because The Gilded Ones was actually a very good start to a trilogy, and The Merciless Ones is the sequel. And then eventually, when I discovered that The Merciless Ones had been published, I put it on my wish list and found out that it was 40 Australian dollars. Once again, I don't actually understand why there's been such an increase in hardback prices. I mean, personally, I understand if they're print on demand, but if they're like printed for the mass market, kind of annoying. So anyway, I had let The Merciless Ones sit on my wish list for quite some time, and the day that I discovered that The Dragon's Promise had also dropped in price, The Merciless Ones dropped in price to 22 Australian dollars. I just knew that I was never gonna get that price ever again for The Merciless Ones, so I snatched The Merciless Ones. I'm so happy I did because I can finally continue on with the series. And I feel like I really need to reread The Gilded Ones because I very much did enjoy The Gilded Ones at the time that I read it. It just needs to be reread because I remember having such a great time with that story and with the female main characters, and I cannot wait to experience that again while reading The Gilded Ones for a second time and while reading The Merciless Ones for the first time. And now I bring up a pre-order. I received my pre-order of Glow by Raven Kennedy. If you guys don't know, this is the 4th book in the Play to Prisoner series, but this is the Bookish Box Special Edition. And I very much love this edition because when you take this dust jacket off, all those black vines, I really don't know what they are, they go away. You guys can obviously tell that I've only read one book in this series, but I believe that that's the love interest, and I really love this illustration of him. Unfortunately, I tried my luck. I thought to myself, maybe I would just purchase this like 2 hours after it goes on sale, and the hand-signed editions of this book would still be available. But unfortunately, they sold out like hotcakes. I got a digital signature, and I actually don't really mind. I never usually mind. I think for once I just thought to myself, oh dang it, I missed out on something. I don't know, I'm just really competitive like that. Next up, I have Lore Olympus Volume 3, the volume I have not yet read. My aim was to read it before the end of the year last year, and things just got in the way, so I didn't end up getting to it. But I just know every single time I read Lore Olympus, it hits very hard emotionally. But I'm very much looking forward to continuing on with the series this year. The next book I have on the stack is Her Majesty's Royal Coven, the original edition. So I actually have the Fairy Loot edition, but I do not like the yellow cover. And I've just been trying to work out whether or not I would justify purchasing this beautiful pink cover. And then when I saw the color on the sequels cover, I just knew that I needed the pink and the green. It's like a greenish teal turquoise. As soon as I saw that color, I knew that I needed to have the pink edition with that color because both of them would just combine very well. I don't know, I just really love that color combination. And I mean, the yellow cover's okay, but this pink is just absolutely gorgeous. And no, I have not yet read Her Majesty's Royal Coven, but I've heard great things from people I trust. So I'm assuming that I will love it. And speaking of adult fairy loot, I also received these 2 copies in the mail. My October book pick was Poster Girl by Veronica Roth, and my November book pick was A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. These 2 books, I read them in January, and they were instant 5 out of 5-star reads. And personally, I find that incredible because I was actually considering unsubscribing to adult fairy loot because some of the books I just wasn't interested in, and I wasn't a big fan of their customizations. However, I love the way that these 2 books specifically were customized. The only other edition of Poster Girl I would have probably prioritized purchasing over this one would have been the US cover. Like, I really love the US hardback of Poster Girl. I wasn't too keen on this cover initially until I saw the Fairy Loot edition. Like, I really love this blue, and I really love the foiling here. I reckon that Fairy Loot did an excellent job with this customization, and on top of that, I really love the stenciled edges. I definitely also appreciate the foiling on the hardback, and I love the fact that this was signed. And the cherry on top is that she's one of my favorite authors of all time. Whereas with S.T. Gibson, this was a first time reading a book by them, and I love this book so much. I don't necessarily love the cover. I love what they kind of did with it by making it red, but I kind of just wish that it was committed to in a way. But I love the stenciled edges here. I also love the end pages. These illustrations are just so pretty. And then also, I like this naked hardback. It looks really cool. I just kind of wish that it was a little bit lighter, but then again, this is a very dark book. And the next book I hold within this period was A Light in the Flame by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the 2nd book in the Flesh and Fire series, a series that I think is superior to the Blood and Ash series. This book was amazing. It definitely made one of my favorite books of last year, and I personally highly recommend this series to anyone who is intimidated by the original Blood and Ash series. I would definitely recommend this series over that series. Even though I do like the original Blood and Ash series, I did not like book 4. This book, however, did not disappoint. And speaking of sequels to a series that did not disappoint, Charm by Tracy Wolff. This is actually technically a sequel prequel because the events of this book take place between books 1 and 2 of the series. However, the epilogue of this book directly relates to the end of book 4. I would recommend, if you are actually wanting to read this this book between books 1 and 2. You read the entire novel up until the epilogue. The epilogue you have to save until you've read book 4. This book, absolutely incredible, and I am so happy I received a copy so I could just keep hugging it because it's so good. And these next 2 books I can explain, okay? I have mentioned on my channel previously that I ordered the Coldest Girl in Cold Town Fairy Loot exclusive edition. But see, on the spine, I'm not too sure if you noticed, there is a puncture right here. And I flagged that with Fairy Loot and I asked them to send me a replacement. They did send me a replacement. The problem is this one is not signed and this one is signed. This makes me a little bit upset in a way. Like, I understand that these things happen. It's just, this did not happen in transit. It was actually very well packaged in transit. You could tell that this happened on their end. This one kind of makes me really sad because I believe that they would have had to quality check this before sending it out. This was not quality checked. One of them I face out on my shelves this way and the other one I face out this way. So I have 2 editions of this book now. I want to keep the signed edition, however, it's a damaged copy, and as much as I want to display the spine, I feel very sad about that. But overall, I'm somewhat thankful that I have a copy that I can display this way without it kind of looking like it's damaged. I'm at least happy that I got a free replacement. And the next stack of books I have to haul today are the first 4 books in the Zodiac Academy series done by the Bookish Box. I swear I pre-ordered these a year ago, probably from this month. I have these and they are so pretty. The thing is, right, I don't really have too much hope with this series because I hear that book 8 is not that good. By the way, as I'm talking, I'm just sharing these with you guys. Like, look at how pretty it all is. Like, I love these editions and these are probably the prettiest editions I've seen of the series so far, unless of course another book box will do them. But yeah, I'm yet to find out what happens in book 9 and whether book 9 is worth it because I'm really nervous about book 9. It just has to be good. The reason why I have held off reading the series is essentially because it's a 9-book series. It's not just a 9-book series commitment, it's just one of those series commitments where some of the books are absolutely chunky. And it's a bully romance as well to start off with. So it's not necessarily convincing me. However, I just want to be a part of the fandom. I mean, I want to love Tori and Darcy. I mean, look at them here. I want to be part of the fandom. I want to love the series as much as everyone else, but I can't bring myself to read the series until all 9 books are out. I just want to know whether I'm going to love the series at the end of the day and whether or not the 9th book will have been worth it in the end. I'm still very much happy with this purchase. I don't regret this purchase at all. I have no buyer's remorse. I'm just so happy they're finally here because I know that there's no edition that compares to this box set so far from what I know. And this next stack of books I have to haul today are all by the same author, but they're 2 different series. I have A Promise of Fire by Amanda Boucher, and then I have Night Chaser and Starbreaker by Amanda Boucher. This, I believe, is the first book in a high fantasy series, and these are the first 2 books in a sci-fi space opera series. I've heard great things, absolutely amazing things about Amanda Boucher's work, but I personally never took the time to research her series whatsoever. And then Boxing Day happened. I went to Dimmicks and Kinokuniya and I saw these books and I had to grab them for 20% off, so that's what I did. And I am hoping that I can trust the book community here, give their opinions, essentially telling me that her writing is absolutely amazing and perfect if you love fantasy romance and space operas. I don't have much to say about these. I haven't read anything by Amanda Boucher, but I'm very much looking forward to it. But a fantasy romance series that I can say a lot of things about is the Malediction trilogy. I've talked about this series a lot in the last 2 years. I believe as I'm filming this, I read the series 2 years ago and absolutely fell in love with it. It is one of my favorite fantasy romance book series of all time. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. And one day in November or December of last year, I just decided I was going to finally do it. I was going to purchase one of my favorite series of all time in hardback, and I have no regrets here because these are absolutely beautiful and I love displaying them. I love looking at them and knowing that I can preserve them for a very long time, and I'm planning on handing over my paperbacks to someone who will appreciate a young adult fantasy romance, because as much as this is fantasy romance, this is definitely young adult, meaning that you can read it at an older age. It's just if you're wanting to read it because you love the Bridge Kingdom series, you're not going to get what you get from the Bridge Kingdom series. I love this series so much, absolutely obsessed with it, and would 100% recommend it to those who are looking for a good fantasy romance that isn't necessarily smutty. Like, it's not smutty, but it's really good. And speaking of young adult fantasy, I have the Prison Healer Booktopia exclusive edition. This is by Lynette Noni. This is the first book in the Prison Healer trilogy, and Booktopia, out of all places, an Australian bookstore coming out with an exclusive edition. This doesn't happen, or at least when it does happen, it's never in hardback. So I'm very much pleased and impressed by this. The only differences between this and the original edition is the fact that it's much thinner. Also, the end pages have Dominique Wesson art. I also have these as separate art prints as well. I purchased them them directly from Lynette Noni's store. However, I just wanted to see these on a book because that's so pretty. The naked hardback art is different as well. I mean, I have become an absolute simp for the series, so I just thought to myself, why not add it to my collection? Next up, I have Heart of the Sun Warrior, the Waterstones exclusive edition. I believe the only difference between this edition and the standard edition hardback is that there are sprayed pages. I am excited to get to this one. It has been a while since I've been in this world. I loved the first book so much, and I'm just hoping that the Heart of the Sun Warrior does not fall under the duology problem where things are just rushed in the end. The first book slash previous book definitely set up for a very explosive sequel, so I'm hoping that the sequel is explosive and it's not rushed. And the next few books I have to hold today are from Katie Robert, one of my favorite smutty writers. And here I have the Deal with a Demon series. I've wanted to read this series for quite some time. I don't know why. The covers really intrigue me. I think it's because it has a play on the historical romance genre, but also crosses over with monster romance. These are so gorgeous. And I was kind of waiting for them to be out in hardback, but I just could not resist these paperbacks either way. So I just decided that I was going to bite the bullet and purchase them. I've heard great things about the series, and from what I've heard, Katie Robert has poured her heart and her soul into the final book in the series. And just hearing that makes me know that the series, even though it seems to be funny and camp, it is also going to be hard-hitting and emotional. I mean, after reading the Wicked Villain series, I needed a break. Like, I needed some time to process that. And I just know that Katie Robert is going to deal with some tough subject matters in this series, but I am so looking forward to it. I've heard great things about all these books. Also, I just want to get more into monster romance anyway, so I guess this is a good gateway considering that Katie Robert is an author I somewhat trust. I mean, I'm not counting the Sea Witch in that though. The next two books I have to hold today are the Never King and the Dark One. I purchased these during Amazon's Black Friday sale. These were like super cheap. I believe they were only like 15 bucks each, so I had to grab them because usually they have like a recommended retail price of $20 or $22.99 or something like that. I've heard great things about the series, and unlike the Hooked series, I thought that the Hooked series was a fantasy romance and I felt that this was a contemporary romance. However, it's actually the complete opposite. This, I believe, has fantastical elements, whereas Hooked by Emily McIntyre is a contemporary romance. However, both of them happen to be Peter Pan reimaginings. I've heard great things about this one as well. I hear that it's dark and it's smutty. I am looking forward to it, but at the very same time, once again, I think with the Katie Robert books, I just need a break sometimes. So I wonder if this is going to be hard-hitting and emotional. I do want to get more into dark romance, but I just know that some of the subject matters get to me sometimes, and I get intimidated. However, I do want to dive into the genre more. I'm hoping that these books will also help me escape into it. And on the lighter side, I have The Iron King and the Iron Sword by Julie Kagawa. These are books 1 and 2 of the Iron Fae Evenfall series, which is the spin-off to the original Iron Fae series. I love the Iron Fae series. I've only actually read the original series so far, and I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of waited for the third book to come out so I could binge read this series, because as much as I do enjoy the Iron Fae series, I just know that I might get emotional reading another series that follows Robin Goodfellow. Like, this series I've wanted to read ever since I first heard about it, but I mean, the more time I distance myself from the Iron Raven, the more I just want to wait for the final book to come out in the trilogy. So essentially that is what I've done. I finally hold them, and I cannot wait for the final book in the series so I can do a good binge read. The next book I have to hold is really funny. You guys might or might not recall the fact that I hold The Queen of All That Dies by Laura Falasa sometime last year, and I purchased this, but it happened to be a taller paperback than the second two books in the series. The second two books in the series were in a B/B+ format. This is a trade paperback format. I decided to wait a few months and to attempt to order from Amazon The Queen of All That Dies paperback again, and it decreased in price and the dimensions had been updated on the website. So I attempted to order it again, and to let you know that I ordered it with this cover showing on the website. However, this time, even though I got a shorter paperback, I did not get a matching one. I have The Queen of All That Dies in its former cover. When I purchased it from the Amazon website, and it had displayed with this cover. The universe does not want me to buy a matching edition of this first book in a series, and I'm done. Thankfully, I was able to flag this with Amazon, and they gave me a refund/exchange. They gave me a credit because it was clearly false advertising on their end, but I am still left with this paperback. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna chuck it out or not. I don't even know whether I'm gonna chuck these out or not because I still love Laura Falasa's work. However, thankfully, in a future haul, you guys are gonna see my fake crate editions, because literally, I believe, like, within 10 days of me having having this mishap, Fake Crate announced that they were doing the Fallen World trilogy by Laura Falasa, so I am happy I will finally have a matching set. But it took having to go through this to get there. And speaking of that credit I was given from Amazon, I ended up spending it on Escaping Wonderland by Tiffany Roberts. I've wanted to read this book for quite some time. I put it on my wishlist video and I finally read it in January and I loved it. I honestly cannot wait to read more from Tiffany Roberts because I really enjoyed this. And my only gripe with Escaping Wonderland is the fact that it's a standalone, when I believe that Tiffany Roberts built up a world that deserves so much more than a standalone. I personally don't know whether there are going to be any spin-offs to the series or not, but I believe that it does deserve some sort of spin-off because the concept was awesome and I loved the characters as well. I just had a very fun time with the standalone. And I definitely want to read more Tiffany Roberts in the future, so I can say with confidence that the Queen of All That Dies situation kind of turned out to be positive in the end because I ended up with a book that I absolutely love. And the next book I have to haul is Princess of Souls by Alexandra Christo. This is the Fairy Loot exclusive edition that came with my October box. I can't find the hardback that came in that box. I think I've hid it somewhere. I think it was One Dark Window, but I'll show that in my next haul if I can find it. And I unhauled my November pick shamelessly because, I mean, that ombre was terrible. But Alexandra Christo is the author of To Kill a Kingdom, and as much as I loved To Kill a Kingdom, I did not love the previous duology that she wrote. So I'm very much hoping that Princess of Souls will win me over because I'm very much nervous about this one. I really hope I love it just as much as I loved To Kill a Kingdom. And this next stack of books I have to haul are from an author I have hauled previously, but I still haven't read. Oh my goodness. The Harrow Fair series by Catherine Ann Kingsley. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw this cover, I knew that I immediately had to have the series, and then I looked into it and I found out that it's like a dark horror romance, I believe, that takes place in like a fun house, or like it has fun house energy. I am somewhat nervous about the series because I hear that the romance dynamics aren't the most healthy. However, that's kind of what makes a dark romance, maybe. From what I've heard, I've just seen that it's a horror romance, which is a very interesting combination. And I've been very much curious in the idea, which is also the perfect segue to the next titles I'm going to be showing. I'm very much looking forward to getting to this series though sometime. I hope that I enjoy them. I hear that there are a lot of red flags in this series. However, I can't help but be intrigued by Harrow Fair. And yes, speaking of horror romance, The Cat and Mouse Duet by H.D. Carlton. I don't know if I've mentioned this previously on my channel, but H.D. Carlton is also coming to Babe 2023. At least as I'm filming this video, they are listed as a featured author, but that could change. So I am looking forward to somewhat meeting them. I really actually don't know whether I'm going to meet them or not because it's a long list of authors and just one day where I will have that opportunity. So I mean, fingers crossed. But I literally purchased these because they were on sale on Black Friday and I had to snag them up because they are usually like $35 per book, meaning that the series is usually like $70, but I ended up getting these for like $25 per book, so that made the series like $50. I don't know what's wrong with me, I know, but I am intrigued. Even though this is a stalker romance, I am very much intrigued and I kind of hope I have some sort of enjoyment. I'm personally going into this duet expecting a bunch of adrenaline, and I am hoping that I'm going to get somewhat of an adrenaline-inducing read. Do I condone the actions of the stalker though? I mean, I haven't seen what they've done, but it's a stalker romance, so I don't condone stalkers whatsoever, but I'm intrigued. And the next book I have to haul is The Dawn Hounds by Sasha Stronach. And this is actually a sapphic sci-fi written by a Maori author, which is very exciting. I have been told that if you love Gideon the Ninth, you will definitely love this. I've actually started this book, but another book got in the way. I really need to pick it up again because I was so interested in it, and I seriously can't wait to read more from The Dawn Hounds, so fingers crossed I will enjoy the rest of the journey. But I'm definitely looking forward to reading more from this author as well, because from what I've read of The Dawn Hounds so far, I'm like 25% of the way through. I've been really enjoying it. And the next book I have to haul is Monsters Born and Made by Tanvi Burnwa. Okay, so this book was the, I believe, September book pick of the month for the Bookish Box Young Adult subscription, and I only received it recently. This is the customized cover. I reckon if we didn't get a close-up of this monster, I think I would like it more. I do like the holographic foiling. I do like the end page art as well, like that's pretty. I also like the reverse dust jacket, but I kind of wish that was the front cover, but I'm considering just taking this off and just displaying it like this. Like, this is so pretty. It literally took like 4 months for it to get to me. The stenciled edges aren't bad, it's just the placement is just terrible in my opinion. It's a very pretty, aesthetically pleasing book. I'm happy that I have it. I don't know whether it's a standalone or not. I'm kind of hoping it is because the Bookish Box have not been guaranteeing completed series recently, but I'm very much looking forward to getting to this one. And I believe the September adult pick from the Bookish Box is a standalone, and that, my friends, is A Taste of Gold and Iron. This MM fantasy romance has been making its rounds here in the booktube community, and this edition is absolutely stunning. Even though I do actually really like the original edition, I do appreciate this edition as well. It's just so pretty. I mean, that is just absolutely gorgeous, and I also love the look of this as well. But other than the fact that this is an MM romance, I haven't really heard much more about this fantasy standalone, so I definitely want to look more into it and eventually read it as well and let you guys know my thoughts on it. And now let's go into some of my fabled special editions, starting off with Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Roberts. I feel 50-50 about this edition. I reckon that the blood here could have been red foiling, but that's just my personal opinion. I do appreciate the slipcase. I've had trouble with some of Fabled's designs, and I think that has to do with the fact that they're always designed pretty similarly, or they use the same graphic designer every time. But I do appreciate this edition, and I mean, Katie Roberts is one of my favorite authors, so I'm really happy that I have this and I've added it to my collection, but I do prefer the original cover. Also, it's the same copy and paste skull design, but I do like the concept of the slipcase. And Fabled started like a young adult or a clean subscription service, like a cleaner subscription service, where like there's less smut in the books and more plot. Their first book pick was The Siren's Mutiny by Jessica S. Taylor. I actually do like this design. It's pretty similar to the original in terms of its color palette, but I still find this design probably one of their most unique so far. I love these end pages, by the way. These end pages are probably the most unique I've seen from them so far. Under the dust jacket. This looks very pretty, but this, however, is probably the best part. I love that they continued the theme on the end pages and added that to the naked hardback. It is so pretty. I kind of wish that it was the front. However, it still looks very good. This is probably one of my favorite books designed by Fabled. Fabled are a hit and miss for me. Like, I appreciate that they are putting their own books out and they are an Australian book subscription service who are pretty much paving their own way. It's just, unfortunately, some of their designs seem the same, and I don't like their default font. This font is okay, but I don't like their default font like the one that we saw on Court of the Vampire Queen. But that's just me. I don't want to discourage anyone from subscribing to Fabled. If that's their design preference, then I would actually recommend it, but it's not my design preference. But you know what? There's another book from Fabled I absolutely love the design of, and that, my friends, is Order of Scorpions by Ivy Asher. This book is a chunker. So the fact that they were able to put this book in a subscription service blows my mind. And what's even cooler about this is that Ivy Asher is actually, I believe, also coming to Rare, so I might just take this along with me to Melbourne. I mean, we will see. It is very chunky. Now, I'm not too keen on the page stenciling because, once again, like skulls, when are we going to move on from skulls? I mean, at least with this design of skulls, it doesn't really look like the copy and paste one they use most of the time, but I love this under the dust jacket design. This is so cool. I was absolutely blown away. However, I was disappointed by the December books, but I'm very much pleased with the November book picks, and I'm very happy that I received these books specifically. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about the rest of the Fabled books going forward. I'm still reevaluating because I've got to think about my finances, and I have just subscribed to Illumicrate Book Only and Afterlight, so Fabled might have to go. We will see. And the next two books I have to haul today are the same books, also a book that I haven't read. It's a sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart. That, my friends, is The Ballad of Never After. I had to get the original edition because it's so pretty, and I had to get the Fairy Loot edition as well, and I had to jump on the sale like really fast because I actually purchased Once Upon a Broken Heart, the Fairy Loot edition, secondhand from someone. That book was irresistible to me. It was just so pretty, I had to snatch it up and purchase it. This book as well is like no exception. This is so beautiful. I am so obsessed with the blue. I love these stenciled edges, and I love what they did with these end pages. Those end pages are so pretty. This, that, all of it. The aesthetics of the series, at least in the UK hardback, so beautiful. And I have not yet read the series, but considering Jax was the only character from Caraval I actually truly cared about, I really hope I'm going to love it. And the next book I'm hauling today is Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chapeko. This is the US hardback, and it is so beautiful. I mean, look, the UK paperback's not too bad. It just looks kind of generic. Like, it wasn't interesting to me. This, however, is art, in my opinion. And the next stack of books I have to haul today are Camilo's Christmas gift to me, and that is The War of Lost Hearts trilogy by Carissa Broadbent, which consists of Daughter of No World, Children of Fallen Gods, and finally Mother of Death and Dawn. I have heard great things about this series. It's actually blowing up on Book Talk right now, and at the moment it's even more promising because I have a friend who has similar bookish tastes as me, and she loves Carissa Broadbent's latest novel, which is in another series that she wrote, so I can't wait to read that book series as well. But as soon as I saw these covers, I immediately knew that I had to get them in hardback. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, but every single time I see a really pretty book cover and I see that it's available in hardback, I immediately put it on my wish list, and I either wait until I have the finances, like if they're like really expensive, or I wait until a special occasion and Camilo gets them for me. This very thing happened with the Air Comes to Rise series. That was for my birthday, and this was my Christmas gift. I'm very much looking forward to the series. I have a feeling I'm gonna have like a really bad fantasy romance hangover, like one of those that I have like after reading Sarah J Maas or Laura Falasa, because I hear that this series is that good. But we will see. We will find out together. And as we are nearing the end, the next book I have to haul is Kingdom of the Feared by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the Bookish Box Special Edition. Now, what I don't like about this edition as opposed to the other two is that there is some drop shadow to the font on those spines, but there's no drop shadow here. Interjection from the future. I actually got that completely wrong. There's actually no drop shadow on the first two books, or at least the font on the spine on the first two books, and there's drop shadow on that spine, as you could see. So whenever I sit them together, the text on the spines don't really exactly match. So it's really hard to tell that they're in the same series. That all being said, this cover by Monolime is still absolutely gorgeous. You have Emilia and Wrath on here. In terms of the original cover, oh my god, that's the first time I'm seeing that. In terms of the original cover, it's like not that special. I really just don't like the original Kingdom of the Wicked covers, and I don't care about the different color variants of them. It's just an ugly cover in my opinion. And we technically have some rosy pink pages here. But yeah, I mean, I wanted this specifically for the Monolime art. We got the Monolime art. I'm a happy camper. And speaking of Kingdom of the Wicked, the final books I have to haul today is actually another set of Kingdom of the Wicked, except these are with the Fake Rate exclusive dust jackets. And I hate to say it, but I like them better. Like, I love Monolime's art for the series, don't get me wrong, but I just really love the concept of this art. And I don't know, I think adding the foiling to the dust jacket just enhances the art. It just enhances the edition so much. I'm pleasantly surprised by this. I really love the designs of these covers, and I really kind of wish that these were the original covers of the series, because this series had so much potential in terms of the design department. That's why so many people are making different customized dust jackets for this series. It's only because the series had so much potential in terms of design, and we get these skull designs that just look poorly photoshopped in my opinion. Anyway, that's just my rant. But I don't know, I'm personally frustrated with Jimmy Patterson and Hodder and Stoughton for even thinking that the initial covers with like skulls and random objects thrown into their photoshopped was a good idea. Like, it just looks like a very cheaply made stock image cover in my opinion. And I absolutely love that cover artists are doing their thing and they're redesigning the Kingdom of the Wicked covers, because in my opinion they are doing the Lord's work. As soon as I found out that Fake Rate were coming out with dust jackets, I just knew that I had to purchase them because I actually followed the artist. I really love the artist, and I purchased a few art prints from this artist from A Touch of Magic Designs. So seeing that they designed these dust jackets, I immediately knew I had to purchase them. I'm really happy with these. And yeah, I have 2 sets of Kingdom of the Wicked. What of it? So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay till the end of the video, leave me the book stack emoji because we do that for book hauls. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at GSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also GoodReads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at GSwizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace. Thought it I would have, and I flipped it in a double. Thought it I would have, and I flipped it in a double.